This is the fly stitch. And I'm going to do just a regular fly stitch over here, and then I'll show you how to fill in some leaves on this side. Once again, you're going to want to get a little bit of a rocking motion going, so I'm going to loosen this up in my hoop a little bit. What you do is you come out at the top of the line. This is a directional stitch, so whichever way you want your little arms to go on this stitch, you need to start at the top if you want them to point up. So here I'm going to come down with a long stitch on the line, and then I'm going to come up off and to the side about halfway up the length of this long stitch here. And I'm going to make a loop, and then I'm going to come across, directly across from where I'm coming out of the fabric on this side of the stitch, and I'm going to go down and then come up in the same hole at the end of that long stitch, like so, and then pull the loop. Long stitch up and to the left, make a loop straight across, and then up at the end of the long stitch. I don't worry much about this being absolutely perfect, because I think, personally, I think that this stitch looks better if you can tell that it's handmade. If it's too perfect, it looks like it's done by a machine. So that's incentive to not be perfect, which makes it fun for me. Perfection is not my thing. I think it takes all the fun out of it. So you can see how that stitch works. These can be closer together, they can be farther apart. Like so. I'm going to end that right where I am. And I'm just going to cut my thread off. Oops. And now I'm going to work on one of these leaves. I'm going to move my fabric in the hoop so that my little leaf is closer to my left hand so I can reach it. It's kind of vital to be comfortable when you're doing your embroidery, and if you can reach it with your left hand, you're going to be a lot happier. This is where the directional stitch thing comes in it's really important, because you have to start at the pointed end of the leaf. Otherwise, these little arms wouldn't be going in the right direction. And I'm going to come down with that long stitch, just like over here, but this time I'm going to come up right on the outside of my trace line and right up by where I started, just barely down, and then come out in the same stitch, same hole. So you can see how those are really close together. It is this, but these little arms are very close to the center. Now my next one, I'm going to go not a long stitch, I'm going to go right on the other side of that and come up just down from the last one that I did, just on the outside of that trace line. Catch my loop. So you can see it's turning into kind of a satin stitch on the outside edges, but it's got this center little leaf vein. So I've got my loop coming in over here and directly in that same hole and I pull my loop tight. The closer these are together, the more they'll hide this trace line. However, if you can still see the trace line when you're done, there's nothing wrong with that. It's fine. And a way to cover it up is to go around it, go around the leaf or whatever with a back stitch, and it'll cover up a million little sins. I love the way that this variegated floss changes as it goes down the leaf. And you can think about that when you thread your needle. You can position your floss in a certain way so it will be gradient in a way that you want it to. Either that, or you can just go ahead and start stitching with it and be surprised. This is Cosmo variegated Seasons floss, and it's very pretty stuff. Anyway, when I get down to the end of this, oops, see, I have a knot. There we go. When I get down to the end, it may not cover because you see how V'd this is, and this is rounded. I'm going to get to the bottom of the center line before I can cover the rounded areas in that leaf. And all you do at that point is just do a little satin stitch on either side to keep filling it in where this stitch won't go, because you can only go so far with the center. See that? Darn it. That's about as far as I can go with the fly stitch. And at that point, I would have to come in here and satin stitch this little area here and the one on the other side to fill it in. Because you just do what you have to do with the shape that you're given. But you can see how I'm filling that other side. So that is the fly stitch, regular fly stitch, and then the fly stitch fill like you'd use in a leaf. And it goes really quickly, and it's really rewarding, and it's fun once you learn how to do it.